Yeah, it's interesting because, I know from my own experiences, when things are going really well in my life on a practical level, on the worldly level, that's all very nice. But the appeal after a time wears off and you're trying to always top it and have another kind of high, if you like.
Yeah.
And it's the greatest lessons I've certainly found is that when things haven't gone how I'd like them to be, I'd have to cope with difficulties.
Yeah.
And that gives me strength, and that's how I've really learnt to cope with life.
Yeah.
I think that's very true with most people.
No, I'd rather that wasn't true. Most of us, nobody likes pain, and I certainly have never said in that book, go out and look for pain, go out and look for problems. That's masochistic, and that's nonsense, and that's actually had its place within the church too, and I don't agree with that. You don't have to go looking for problems. I'm afraid they come to you. It's how you deal with life when they come. But I genuinely feel that for me anyway, the times when I've come closest to what I call that spiritual gold, that inner magic, is when you can actually look at the mess of life and see through that to the beauty which is there. I have to remind myself almost every day. It's not a kind of once for all, that message. I mean, I wrote that a long time ago, and I still probably every day start climbing that ladder again, because it's not about having answers. It's just about having clues along the way. But I did enjoy writing that, and I do a retreat that's based on that book, which some people have found quite helpful, because I think again, especially within the religious world, there is at the moment a terrifying kind of success culture, and if you're not careful, it turns into Pharisaism, and therefore against the founder of the whole thing in the first place.
So, in your world, if you like, is God within?
Yeah. It's the God thing. Yeah, the God thing. The God question: is God within? Is God immanent? Is God transcendent? At the moment, all I can say is that God is to me, and God is not male, God is not female, God is beyond gender. I don't know whether I really am comfortable with God, Goddess, Spirit, whatever, to be honest, because every one of those seems to be a little bit excluding and narrowing. But God, to me, is a loving energy which seems to be in all people and in all things, and immanent and transcendent. I don't know how. I mean, I'm not working as a priest anymore, so in a sense I'm freer to explore new things. But I'm not yet ready to say this is what I think God is. A universal life force. I don't know. Yeah, probably. I certainly tell you where I find that spirit at the moment in the forest, and that comes to the second book there.
So the second book was in sequences, The Wizard's Gift?
The Wizard's Gift, yeah.
Yeah.
For years.
And that's like a story, a kind of fictitious story, but bringing in some of your own.
It's a short novel.
Your own experiences,
which in a way brings in some of the exercises that I set in the Gospel Falling Down, which is all about finding your inner voice. I'm exploring in a fictional way in The Wizard's Gift. But the reason I brought it up was because I wrote it in the forest, or the book really came to me as I was walking my dog in the forest where I live. I love forests. I love the energy of them. I love. It's strange, really, because I'm becoming a much more kind of aware person. I'm a bit of a dreamer, and I used to walk through forests without noticing anything. Now I notice everything, and I can feel just that life force as I sort of feel the tree leaves brushing across my face. I'm sounding like a weirdo now, but I mean I do. I feel really alive in the forest. And that story came to me as I sat on this thing called the reading chair in my local forest.
Right.
And it was, so to me that's where I really find spirit.
Yeah. Now I was going to read, I have a little printed extract from The Wizard's Gift that I really like, and it's, "Be still, listen, can you hear him? Stop for a moment, close your eyes, be here now. Are you aware? And that's such a key for life. If people more and more could do that, they'd get more and more in touch with themselves. Otherwise, climbing the ladder, racing around trying to get, and I'm guilty of it sometimes, racing around trying to get somewhere on time. It's just about being here now. And you see, that would be my interpretation of the nearest I would could get to God, be here now.
Yeah, sure, that's right. And interestingly, that little extract you read, when it says you can hear him or something, I would, of course, for a woman reading it, I would say you would hear her, because that's talking about the voice of what I call the wizard within, which is our own deepest voice.
Yes.
And it's male and it's female. I just wanted to point that out, really, because, again, especially over the last year, I've been so profoundly blessed, really, by the encounters I've had that have, from people from a more nature-based spiritual tradition, who've helped me see. I mean, I've always believed in the male stroke female, the mother stroke father sense of God, but I've really been plugged back in, I think, to that idea of God and Goddess, which of course has been around thousands and thousands of years. And it's again, I'm not really ready to sort of say this is what I think about that, but it moves me deeply, you know.
So Mark, when you say I think you said you left the church, or you weren't actually practicing now as a priest. What actually happened there for you?
About a year ago, perhaps a bit longer than that now. I kind of, in a sense, that first book of mine really sums it up. The gospel of falling down, the gospel of failure. I'm quite a failed person. I always made mistakes as a priest, some big, some small. And I think part of the thing was a year and a half ago I was very much haunted by past mistakes, past errors. And I sort of talked it all through. And the advice I received was, maybe the church isn't for you at the moment, the ministry. And I took that as a sign that I really wanted to, I took it as a kind of a little bit of guidance that for now at least I need to be trying to make more of the more magical side of things. I'm very sad about all that, because to me the Church of England at its best is an inclusive community. It's I think, most inclusive denomination, I would say, within Christianity, which in it, it's kind of both a negative and a positive. But the positive about being so inclusive is that you can be someone who drifts in and out of faith and still be an Anglican. You don't have to believe everything. You don't have to have answers for everything. You can be high church, low church, liberal. You can be radical, blah, blah, blah. But I do find signs, and I'm not alone in this, that the dear old CAV is kind of tightening up in certain areas and making it more difficult for people to be totally and utterly themselves. And so I'm happy now to kind of see where the wind blows, if you like. I'm writing a new book now, which is kind of being written as it happens. It's called The Path of the Blue Raven. The raven is a wonderful totem animal symbol that you find all over the world, which is all about magic and initiation. And that's what I feel like I've been through, a new initiation into a new way of, almost like stepping through a Narnian wardrobe into a very magical world, and a very frightening one, because when you leave the ministry, you lose everything, your house, your pension, and I'd only just
lose your support system, don't you, in material way.
I'd only just got married too, and I've got 2 gorgeous children and a beautiful dog, and we all live together for 3 days of the week with my kids, and of course, when all of that support network goes, it's very frightening. And when you're making kind of financially a third of what you used to, it's very difficult. And I'm very, very blessed to have my lovely wife and my children and our families, there with us.